Welcome to Knowledge for the Soul, or K.F.S, the podcast that brings to light important applicable information to your fingertips. Most of us intend to do good for ourselves and others. This podcast provides tools and insights that highlight where the work is in personal development. For each topic, we go through the physical, psychological, and spiritual health perspectives to bring you a complete picture. We are blessed to have you here with us today for another important message. Let's dive right in. Today's topic is the importance of connections. We live in a very individualistic society, which, like everything, has pros and cons. Some of the pros include standing up for yourself, being recognized for uniqueness, your individual rights are respected, and creative expression is allowed to flourish at a greater capacity. Now, these are just some examples. While individualistic behavior has its advantages, we need to be wary of significant disadvantages. With this individualistic attitude, coupled with social media, it is easier than ever to distance yourself from someone that you do not want in your life or that you do not agree with on various issues. While in some cases, the reasoning for this, i.e. a heinous crime, for example, are justified, there are many times when doing so will hurt the quantity and quality of relationships in the long run. A good example can be found when looking at separated parents. Oftentimes, the parents of a child, when separated, engage in very unhealthy or aggressive behavior towards one another. While this is everyone's right to feel how they feel about someone, separated parents treating each other badly is a recipe that will stifle connections and rid both parties of unforeseeable opportunities. The parents claim to care about the child. If this is the case, the responsible thing to do will be to engage in a healthy new style of relationship now that they have separated. We assume this because of the love that they have for their child. So long as both parents have not committed heinous crimes towards each other, or anyone for that matter, this should be the objective. Why does mending the relationships between separated parents in this example help them live a more fulfilling life with many connections? The answer can be found when zooming out and viewing the big picture of social connections. If they can achieve this significant milestone, their relationship with their child has the opportunity to grow to its maximum potential, and in conjunction, relationships with in-laws or mutual friends are allowed to flourish. Some of the other examples similar to the one just mentioned include workplace situations, where there is a relational challenge with a single individual on the team, friendship circles, where there may be tension with just one person, or perhaps a family member that you do not care for or get along with. A person maybe that you met that rubs you the wrong way. Why is doing our best to maintain connections so important to the individual? And why should we think twice before deciding to cut someone out of our lives? Let's examine the physical benefits. The brain can only develop to its maximum potential through social interaction. Let's take a look at the example of feral children to demonstrate the truth of this claim. Most of us know what it means to be considered a feral child. For those that are unaware, this is a child that has been in isolation from human interaction at a very young age. Oftentimes, this means that they are unable to comprehend language. They have difficulty learning and demonstrating characteristics of human behavior that we consider essential to a human existence. There are documented cases all around the world. Due to the quantity of validated information available, I am deferring to Wikipedia as a reference for learning more about feral children. Now, let's connect what we have just reviewed with the physical aspect of health. Isolation rids the brain of the opportunity to develop. Feral children are unable to live normal lives. They are unable to think in the same capacity as the average person. Their potential is significantly lowered. In most cases, feral children are likely to spend a lifetime attempting to assimilate to normal living in our society. While this serves as an extreme example, we can infer that mild examples breed mild consequences. First, we can infer that communication skills are lowered significantly, as is the capacity for empathy when facing isolation. Since the development of language and writing is correlated to the cerebral cortex of the brain, isolation is correlated to stunting the development of this area. This affects you physically. There is hope for feral children thanks to neuroplasticity. In essence, the brain has the ability to grow and change much like a muscle. They can increase the brain strength and go on, hopefully, acquiring some sense of normalcy in their lives. Keeping healthy connections allows us to exercise the cerebral cortex, allowing it to reach its full potential. Having social connections that are healthy and plentiful in quantity increase the likelihood of living longer so long as there are no major health complications being managed. Ever heard of the concept of ikigai? Ikigai is a Japanese concept referring to having a direction or purpose in life, providing a sense of fulfillment and towards which they, the person, may take actions, giving them satisfaction and a sense of meaning. There is a book called Ikigai by Hector Garcia. In the book, he and co-author Francesc go over to a special location in Japan where people have been known to live longer. This area is referred to as a blue zone, which is an area where many 100 years and older people reside. They interviewed many people within the blue zone and received consistent feedback when asked how they are able to go on. The answer was having meaning, connections, and purpose. When discussing the possibility of living as long as possible on a physical level, having meaning and connections with others is a key component. We will revisit this evidence more in our spiritual section. Another example of the physical benefits can be examined when looking at how focusing on creating and maintaining healthy relationships can reduce the likelihood that someone will desire to inflict pain on any level. Being human means we have to consider all possibilities while we navigate through this life. For physical health maintenance, it is clear that having and maintaining social connections will decrease your likelihood of harm coming from another person or persons. Another example is that you get access to greater social resources. Social resources is defined by the U.S. government as any concrete or symbolic item that can be used as an object of exchange among people. Examples of social resources include both tangible items such as money, information, goods, and services, and less tangible concepts such as love, affection, and status within society. This last part connects us both to the spiritual aspects and physical aspects, but we will focus on what this means on a physical level. This means that the more healthy connections you have, not only do you have access to greater resources, in addition to financial resources, you will have greater physical health. Through social resources, one can get greater access to resources such as healthcare and other important things that may affect the standard of living. Access to greater resources means better physical health. We have covered just some examples that demonstrate some of the physical health aspects that are beneficial when placing value on the importance of connections. Let's move on to the psychological portion of the podcast. Having good connections with others will decrease the likelihood of mental illness. Let's take a look at a quote from the Economic and Social Research Council. Social isolation has been known as a key trigger for mental illness, while supportive relationships with friends, family, and neighbors are beneficial to the mental health of individuals and the population. Having good connections with others will increase your cognitive functionality. Your brain will be sharper, and this will aid you when completing tasks and give you more tools when dealing with other people. Having good connections with others will improve memory. The reason for this deduction is because having good connections with others will require that you remember things about people. This in itself is a memory game of sorts. Studies have shown that you can improve your memory by exercising it, and this is certainly one way to do so. Having good connections with others will increase your communication skills and emotional IQ. This will allow for a greater capacity for managing emotions in a constructive way. Now on to the spiritual benefits. As promised, we will take another look at the concept of ikigai. Having a sense or purpose and meaning will aid the spirit. Connections with others will help with giving ourselves that meaning. The connection with yourself will increase as you get to know others. This concept of ikigai will bring us fulfillment on a spiritual level. Fulfillment is one of the key desires that the soul has. In having good connections with others, you will receive unforeseen benefits. For example, a friend of a friend knows a hiring manager and you get the job. With the application of the just provided information, and even when systems are enacted, it will not be a perfect journey. What I hope is that those considered introverts or those who do not understand the importance of connection are able to grow from this. One does not have to be an extrovert to build plentiful, healthy connections and benefits. One last thing from my heart to you. Cherish your healthy relationships. Cultivate them. We are lucky to live in a world where we have someone who cares about us, who is loyal to us, etc. Do not take it for granted. Not only that, be proactive about it. Do not let this individualistic society prevent you from keeping these things in mind. Thank you so much for tuning in. I truly believe that this insightful information will empower you as an individual. Be sure to follow my socials. You can find me on Facebook under K.F.S. Podcasts, or you can find me on Instagram and Twitter under KFS_podcast. Staying up to date will help you find our podcast episodes, get updates, and stay informed on additional projects. Feel free to email the team at kfs@gmail.com. We will be taking episode feedback, topic requests, and special guest requests. Thank you so much. I look forward to our continued growth. I wish you a blessed day. And this has been another great episode of Knowledge for the Soul.